welcome back to Keeping Up with Keita, Marquita to be exact. I hope you guys have been doing great, amazing so far. I'm doing pretty good. So I did a little poll on my Instagram yesterday, right? But it's been 3 years since my ectopic pregnancy, and I haven't ever really talked about it, really, like publicly especially. So a lot of people wanted to I guess hear my story. Maybe you can relate, maybe you know somebody that's been that's had an ectopic pregnancy. So oh my gosh, it's been 3 years. I don't even really think about it often anymore. I'm able to talk about it. If you don't already know, I'm pregnant now with my baby girl, our baby girl, 33 and a half weeks now. And I feel like it's unfortunate that I lost that pregnancy, but if things didn't play out the way that they did, I wouldn't be where I am right now with this baby that I am so ready for and that I love so much. So I'm grateful for what I've been through to get me where I am today. So let's see, going back in time, it feels like a lifetime ago, honestly. I was not in a good place in my life. I was depressed. I had lost my father. I was in a really horrible, toxic relationship. And I found out I was pregnant, basically. I was not trying to have a baby. I was just living my life, and I found out I was pregnant, and I was just trying to make the best out of the situation. And to kind of give you an idea of what my life was like, or how this situation was, there was a lot of people involved. So from the very beginning, everybody knew. I mean, everybody knew. Everybody was excited. Everybody knew. Before that, I felt very isolated, like I was kind of cut off in my head from the world. I was very, very depressed. I was actually on antidepressant medication because I was having a really hard time at that point in my life, like I said. But it was close to my son Isaiah's birthday, so we had actually planned a trip to go take him to Universal Studios. His birthday's May the 1st. He just actually turned 11 on this past Saturday. And so we had booked the trip for that weekend or whatever. So we get to Universal. The first day was great. And I did already have an appointment. I had saw an OB. I was told that I was about 6 to 7 weeks pregnant. So, and they wouldn't give me an ultrasound. So, because it was too early, they said. So I was just rolling with it, whatever. I noticed the symptoms that I had weren't very crazy. I was just really sleepy, you know, typical, like, no morning sickness. I've never really had morning sickness before. So yeah, I didn't really have any symptoms besides being really tired, which is normal for me, I guess, whenever I'm pregnant. So fast forward back to the trip. So we get to Universal Studios. If you don't know, that's in Florida. I live in North Carolina, so it's a little bit of a drive. I was fine. We get there the first day. Obviously there's a lot of walking involved, and we had a great first day. I didn't obviously ride on any rides or anything. I just got on like one really like babyish sort of ride with Isaiah, where you just fly in the air. It was no like bumping and moving and all of that, so it was okay. The next morning I woke up and I needed to go to the restroom, but then when I went to sit up, I noticed that I had a very sharp pain in my stomach, and I just remember kind of sitting up halfway for a few minutes and just sort of trying to breathe through the pain. And then the person I was with at the time woke up because I guess he heard me like breathing heavier, and I was just like, okay, something's wrong, because and I do have a very I'm not going to say very, I do have a pretty high pain tolerance. And this to me, I knew it didn't feel normal. So I did my best to stand up because I still needed to go to the restroom. And the pain just got increasingly worse to the point where I said, we have to go find a hospital, like right now. Something is really wrong. And for me, it scared my son, and everybody was scared because I'm not really one to complain about minor pains. Like, I kind of write most things off. I don't really even take, I try not to even take like Tylenol for a headache. I just kind of write it out. But I can say that I've had a natural delivery with no epidural or anything, and this to me felt like labor pain, and it was extremely painful. And I don't think the hospital was maybe 15-20 minutes away down a major highway. And I remember not being able to sit flat on my butt. I had to have my legs up. I was trying to breathe. I was crying. It was just so painful. And I remember getting to the emergency room and feeling like I couldn't stand up, I couldn't sit down, I didn't know what to do. But then I ended up sitting in a wheelchair. And then I can say, I don't remember the name of the hospital that we went to. It was a really big hospital in Orlando. Everybody was like really on point, so I didn't really have to wait in the emergency room for a long time. We get to the back, and I remember the doctor or PA, whatever, he was a male, and he was extremely careful and caring, and he was really on it and wanted to find out what was going on. So they did a exam on me down there, and I remember him telling me that my cervix was closed, so that was a good thing. But even him checking my cervix was so painful that I was like lifting myself up off the bed. I couldn't really, it was just so painful. And they wanted to get ultrasounds or do an ultrasound to see what was going on. So eventually I had to get up out of the bed, which was very hard for me to do. And they put me in a wheelchair and wheeled me to a room with a tech to do an ultrasound. And once I finally got myself up on the bed, and she had to do an internal one. I think she did both, but I do remember her doing one internally, and it was the most painful thing I remember. But what was hard for me was that my son was there the whole time, and I don't even know what was going through his mind at the time. I think he was 6 or 7, maybe he's 7. I think he turned 7 that year. So once that was finally over, I'm like trying to cry through it silently because it was so painful. And even the tech, that tech was super nice. I remember her giving me breaks. The look on her face, though, wasn't a good look. She wouldn't tell me if everything was okay. Nothing on the screen was anything that I could recognize. It just looked like a lot of blurry stuff. I never saw a sac. I never saw anything like that, so I was very scared. Once we got through with that, the nurses came, and I think that's when they took me to like a holding area. Yeah, like a holding area in the emergency room or somewhere. And I remember I had gum in my mouth, so I was chewing on a piece of gum, and then all of a sudden, and they had me still sitting in the wheelchair. I wasn't in a bed or anything, and they told me, a doctor or a nurse would be with you in a minute. And I remember all of a sudden it got really hot. My ears started ringing, and like a high-pitched ring. I got nauseous. I felt like I needed to throw up, but then I had got a cold flash, and my vision got blurry. And I was like, I know they're not gonna send me. So somebody around me said, oh, they might send you home. And I was like, there's no effing way they're sending me home, because I literally feel like I'm about to die. My body felt like it was shutting down on me. So I kind of like spit my gum out because I didn't know what to do. I'm like, everything felt foreign, like to move my arms, everything felt weird. And like maybe a few minutes after that, the nurse came in, and that's when she told me that I had an ectopic pregnancy. And I knew what that was, and you know, I have read up on that before. And I just remember crying, like I couldn't believe it was happening to me. She told me that basically I was gonna have to have emergency surgery like right now. And the whole trip was just, not even just that the trip was ruined, but everything, I felt like everything was just like falling down around me all over again. And then I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where, if you've ever had a baby before, you know, you start off with like 1 or 2 nurses, and then when it's go time, it's like all these people just start surrounding you. So I was kind of still in this state of like my body not doing great. But then I found out, you know, they put me in a bed in a room by myself, of course, and I'm in this bed, and there's at least 15 people just rushing around me, putting IVs in, doing all this stuff. And they said, if you don't have the surgery right now, I was bleeding internally, so it ruptured my tube, it ruptured my uterus, and I was bleeding internally. So that's why I guess my body was responding the way that it was, which made sense. This was on a Saturday, I believe. So she wasn't in the hospital, so we had to wait for her to get there, which she got there pretty quickly. But for me, it felt like an eternity. I just knew that things were going bad, and they told me that I had to have a blood transfusion because I was losing so much blood so fast. And I just looked at my hands. My hands were getting white. My face was getting pale, and my lips were turning blue. And they were checking my blood pressure and everything, and it was like 670 something over, like it was a very low number, like a scary low number. Then they start coming in with bags of blood. I had to get 3 or 4 bags of blood before the surgery, because they couldn't stabilize me. And I remember at one point, you know, the bed is flat. They tilted my head down. So I was literally strapped to the bed and laying like this at one point. And then it was go time. My son was terrified, as he should have been. I was scared. And I was at this point begging them to put me to sleep because the pain was so bad that at that point I didn't even care. It sounds horrible, but I didn't even care what happened to me at that point. I just knew that I needed to be put to sleep because it just wasn't tolerable. And at that point, we get to the back and talked to the doctor. She finally came in. She was very nice, straight to the point. She let me know that we had to get back there immediately. Because my situation, I guess, was very dire. So once we got back there, I was just holding on to my son and like trying to reassure him that everything was going to be okay, but begging them to give me some anesthesia like now. And then I had the surgery, and I woke up, and things were bad still. So the surgery at that point was done. They went through, and I still have the scars on my stomach today, which is kind of sucks because it's like a daily reminder of what happened. And then it was very hard for me to look at. Now it's just scars, I guess, but I have 2 scars on both sides of my stomach, and they went in through my belly button. I had to stay there for 2 days after so that I could see the doctor again before she would approve me to like drive home. I had to stay in the hospital, and I was really sad. Like, my ex's mom had flew in so that she could help us take care of Isaiah. And the next morning, I believe, is when we were released from the hospital. We went back to the room, and I was still in a lot of pain. Obviously, I had had major surgery. And I was left just kind of feeling empty. I tried to relax as much as I could. His mom tried to take Isaiah back to Universal, and it just didn't go so well, and which she didn't understand, he didn't understand, my ex didn't understand, I understood. I'm like, listen, you know, my son just witnessed his mom almost die in front of him. Like, maybe taking him to Universal was a good, she tried, but it just wasn't the best move. I think he just wanted to be with me. I think what I needed at the time was just support, like for somebody to tell me that that it was okay, that it wasn't anything that I did wrong, that it was gonna happen anyway. Like, nothing that I did the day before, walking, getting on that one ride, nothing, the drive there, nothing was gonna prevent this from happening, because I hadn't had an ultrasound. We just didn't know, and it was gonna happen. I wish that it wouldn't have happened that way, but it is. Instead of being the type of support that I think that I needed, I was kind of told that, oh, like, just kind of, oh, you'll be okay, or, oh yeah, I've had miscarriages before, and you know, by people like close to me. And what made it even harder is that I was surrounded by friends that were pregnant. Me and I think 3 or 4 of my friends were pregnant at the exact same time, like in the beginning stages. So even the thought of that was so hard. And while I was in the hospital on the bed, nobody knew what was going on, so I'm looking at my phone and how's the baby, and I'm just like, oh my god. And it was really hard. Even on the drive home, I'm just trying to rest, and I just keep looking at my phone, and people just keep texting me, how's the baby, how's the baby, how's the baby. And I just said, you know what, as much as I didn't want to talk about it, I knew that I had to say something eventually so that people would stop asking me, how's the baby. And it's not really anybody's fault, but I think that people should definitely think about how they word things before they reach out, because you don't know anybody's situation. People don't just openly talk about what's going on with them in the moment. I just needed time, and for me it was just really hard. You know, when we got home, my partner at the time went right back to work, so I was just at home recovering with my son, alone, at home in my thoughts, once again, empty. I left home with with child, and came home empty. And I don't think that anything can really prepare you for that feeling. And things just went downhill from there for a long time. It took me a while, to maybe a month or so, before I started to feel like myself again, I guess, physically. Another hard part about that was afterwards, following up with my doctor here at home. Just even driving to the OB clinic was hard because obviously, you know, you're going to see pregnant people, you know, and I had to go back until my HCG levels went back down to like a low enough number. So I was going, I think every couple days or every few days. I can't really remember. I know I went 3, 4, 5 times. I remember a really nice nurse. She was getting ready to do my blood work and in the lab, and a lady walked in with her car seat and her little baby in her car seat, and I just started crying. And wait, let's finish this up. Sorry, just got a little emotional. But yeah, there was a really nice nurse in the back in the lab, and she told me that she had experienced that type of loss before, and she reassured me that with time and some healing that it would be okay. And after my levels were normal again, I do remember the doctor in Florida, after we followed up, she was explaining to me that I would not be able to have a natural delivery after that, because it was such a traumatic rupture or whatever. And I found out that I was actually a lot further along than what I thought. I thought I was 6, 7 weeks pregnant. Really, I was 14. Had no idea. Wasn't showing at all. I said things just continued to go downhill for me for a while. I think whenever I found out that I was pregnant, I stopped my antidepressant medication, and then right after that happened, I got right back on it because I couldn't stop crying. I was just sad all the time. Just say this before I finish. What makes this type of situation a little bit harder, the type of support that you have or don't have, I needed. I was in therapy already, and she agreed. I was surrounded by a lot of toxic people. People telling me that the way that I was going to get better was to get out of the house. I mean, people telling me what I needed to do to get over it, basically. What I felt that I needed to do was get away from the people that I was surrounded by. And once that happened, my life changed for the better. So if you find yourself, if you can relate to anything that I'm talking about today, and you're surrounded by people who are telling you what to do to get yourself out of the funk that you're in because of the situation that you went through, you should think about, for one, talking to a professional so that you can kind of they can help you deal with whatever you have going on. Don't be afraid of the help, and think about trying to slowly or quickly move yourself away from people that don't have your best interest. People that think that they know what's good for you. That's not what it is. You know, only you, with healing and time and help, can mentally get through that dark place, which is what I had to learn the hard way. And here I am today. I did have a miscarriage the following year after that, and without extending this story even longer, that I had a natural miscarriage in 2019, as you know, this teen, and the experience was night and day, literally. And it was because of the type of support that I had. It was totally different. I didn't have anybody telling me what I needed to do, or I was surrounded by amazing people. My partner is amazing, and very supportive and loving and caring, and all of the things that I did not have before. And it made a difference, let me tell you. Hope, I know this story is a little dark, but it's my story, and I haven't really talked about it at all. If you are pregnant and not in a good situation, a good space, physically, mentally, emotionally, just know that you're not alone. I'm praying for anybody and everybody, and or that have gone through this. If you have friends or family, please be careful with your words. Please be careful with the type of support that you're giving, because sometimes all people need is just like love and a hug, maybe. So yeah, thanks for watching.